Again and again, what the COVID pandemic has revealed is, as exposed in the domestic failure of the United States, our inability to make sure that all people would be protected and get the healthcare they need. It has also exposed the destructive role of the United States in the world, its failure to cooperate with other countries, its protection of the profit of transnational corporations over the health of the people.
For here in the United States, the government invested billions of dollars into the research to develop the COVID-19 vaccines, but yet those pharmaceutical corporations that received that money are also profiting greatly off the sale of the vaccines. And when we look at how they negotiate prices with countries around the world, we see that for the poorer nations in the global south, they're being charged very high prices to receive the vaccine, often forcing them into having to take out loans through the U.S.-dominated International Monetary Fund or the World Bank. This debt then causes greater harm to those countries, as often there are demands that the countries service that debt and make cuts to their own social infrastructure in order to have the money to pay off those debts. We see an incredible vaccine apartheid in the, shortly after the vaccines, months after the vaccines were developed and available. 10 of the wealthiest countries in the world were hoarding 75% of the vaccine stock. And we saw many countries, particularly countries in Africa, where they were not able to vaccinate people at all.
Now the figures are well over 1 million deaths in the U.S. It's almost at 1.1 million deaths. When we compare that to China, it's such a fraction.
Wealthy nations are hoarding most vaccines and denying them to poor nations. It's the US, UK against Europe, rich people against poor people, white against people of color, a racist vaccine pyramid that wealthy Western whites are at the top of the food chain and the non-white poor developing countries are always at the bottom. So far, very few Western-made vaccines has been delivered to the global South. The terms vaccine imperialism and distribution racism are based on rich countries buying up most Western-made vaccines far more than they need, leaving very few for developing countries. 怎么可以做得到一个公平的疫苗分配？这为全世界，世界卫生组织跟 Gavi 和 CEPI 组成了 COVAX， 希望分配21支疫苗给190个国家，在1年以内，特别给92个最贫穷的国家，当98个相对比较富有的国家会成就疫苗分配公平。However, order doesn't mean they have received the vaccines or even will receive them soon. At the February 19 United Nations meeting on COVID vaccines, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres sharply criticized the widely uneven and unfair distribution of COVID vaccines, in which only 10 countries in the world, notably the US, Canada, and 8 Western European countries, have taken 75% of all vaccines doses, while 130 other countries have received not a single doses. 根据世贸组织2022年5月13号，全世界已经有152亿支的新冠疫苗，但是大部分都流向富有的发达的国家，而贫穷的南方国家比例上拿得非常小，好像很多其他的情况都一样，只要每一个公平的分配足够，每一个人都可以有疫苗接种，但事实这没有发生。And that's the vaccine nationalism, imperialism, and vaccine apartheid racisms.
As of November 23, 2022, China has donated 328 million doses of vaccines and sold another 1.65 billion to other countries, making it the world's largest export country of vaccines that has contributed roughly 1/3 of the global exports volume. According to the World Trade Organization data, in roughly the same period, the United States exported 968 million doses, that is, only half of the volume of China. Nonetheless, as per the US State Department, the United States has donated more than twice the number of vaccines to the world than that of China. 2/3 of the United States vaccine exports have been through donation. Sounds very generous? Well, in reality, it was for dumping vaccines near the expiring date. The World Health Organization has vehemently criticized rich countries for dumping near-expired COVID-19 vaccines to poor regions. A new report found that more than 1/3 of jabs donated around the world are yet to be administered, remain in storage, or have been wasted.
According to the US media, pharmacies and US government discarded 82.1 million COVID vaccine doses from December 2020 through mid-May 2022. Just over 11% of the doses the federal government distributed, including up to 17 million doses wasted between February to May. Rich countries can waste lots of vaccines and poor countries has nothing. That's crazy.
The COVID pandemic has exposed the failures of the United States domestically, with our inability to make sure that all people be protected and get the healthcare they need. It has also exposed the destructive role of the United States in the world, its failure to cooperate with other countries, and its protection of the profits of transnational corporations over the health of the people. But there is a more vicious role played by the United States in particular and the Western countries in general. They have been using sanctions as weapons against the world.